Aaron and Natasha. News and traffic, Mulcair and Mennie. It's all here in one big show. Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Everything that man said is true. James Mennie of the Montreal Gazette standing by. So, Jim, here we are yet again, or maybe still, talking about Roxham Road, 3-page letter, François Legault to Justin Trudeau. And the request, I guess, not a demand, that when Joe Biden shows up here, and he's coming in March, the Roxham Road be somewhere near the top of the agenda. Look, I think a lot of people agree, whether you consider it illegal, irregular, whatever, the crossing there, something does need to be done. So at least it's fair to say that should be discussed.
Absolutely. And I think the question more immediately for us here in Quebec, though, is why is Justin Trudeau handing François Legault an issue which, quite frankly, is going to be nothing but a political plus for him? People who are suggesting they want to compare François Legault to some, Republican governor in the States who wants to move asylum seekers into other states, it's absolute rubbish. The reality is Justin Trudeau created a situation at Roxham Road. Mm-hmm. He has thumped his chest with pride over this situation. As things, began to deteriorate, as it became clear that apart from letting people through at Roxham Road, there was no plan. Justin Trudeau has done nothing. The federal government's done nothing. There are about 20,000 people right now in Quebec waiting for work permits. And because of that, welfare payments have gone up by I think it was like $30 million. I forget how it was like in the space of a month. It was like $30 million or $20 million more in welfare payments, simply because apparently Justin Trudeau has found some other shiny thing to chase. Don't ask me what it is, because I'm looking at the headlines trying to figure out what could be diverting Justin Trudeau's attention from Roxham Road right now. I can't figure out what that is. But yeah, here is François Legault, who, regular listeners will know, I do not shake pom-poms for this guy, but he's got a legitimate beef. And there has been zero reaction from the feds other than to shrug and say, well, they're asylum seekers, and that's what we do here in Canada. Yeah, but what we don't do is, we don't just say, okay, we're going to pick you up, drop you off at the bus station, and then we take off. I mean, there's got to be some follow-up. This is not happening. A suggestion last December that something would be done with Roxham Road has proven to be just a lot of hot air. So here we are with the Premier of Quebec, who was taking flack for having thumped his chest a little too hard when it came to healthcare funding from Ottawa. Now he can turn around and very genuinely, and perhaps quite effectively, turn around and portray himself as the justifiably aggrieved party in this, of a federal government that turns on a switch, walks out of the room, and doesn't tell you how to turn the damn thing off. So yes, by all means, speak to Joe Biden about it. But if they're giving, if the mayor of New York is reportedly, handing out a bus fare for people to come up to Plattsburgh and trot over from Roxham, I get the impression that Joe Biden, this will not be at the top of his list. This is a made-in-Canada screw-up, and it's time that the government in power dealt with it, because I have a really bad feeling that things are going to start to go south, and not just in terms of the logistics or the people involved at Roxham, simply about the already kind of wobbly perspective many Canadians have about immigrants overall. When we see this, and of course, political opponents will be hopping up and down on this 24/7. For Trudeau to walk away from this and sort of shrug, I think is absolutely unacceptable.
I just want to ask, are you thinking the same thing I'm thinking when Legault now says we're not taking any more, they have to go to Ontario, put them on a bus at Roxham Road and do what the mayors or governors in New York have done, in Florida have done, in Texas have done, and just ship them there, Jim?
Well, listen, they've already been referred, not all of them, but apparently many of them have been shipped over to Ontario, but even there, resources are beginning to get saturated, because apparently someone should explain to the Prime Minister, when you tweet a nice, heartwarming kind of, Statue of Liberty-esque, come to Canada, we will accept you if you're fleeing persecution, you got to put your money where your mouth is. You have to do more than 140 characters, and that has not happened here.
Okay,
so until that does, I wouldn't put it past Doug Ford to put him on a bus and send them to Manitoba to Saskatchewan. If you see where I'm going with this, but it's completely unacceptable. It is. I an amazing disconnect between government and the governed. And
Okay,
I think this is not going to end well.
Jim, but I agree there is some culpability on the part of the Prime Minister. I absolutely agree with that. However, there's also taking advantage of a situation, and what the mayor, sending them here on a bus with a bus ticket, that is outrageous. To me, there is way more culpability there in terms of advertising and taking advantage of a situation, even paying for people to take advantage of a situation.
Yeah, but that's out of our control. That's in the States. What are we going to do? Complain to New York? I mean, I'm worried that Francois Legault will follow that lead and do what Jim's describing and ship them somewhere else. We didn't keep doing this till they get to Vancouver? I mean, where does this look? Whether it doesn't matter who you support federally, something has to be done.
We're going to have a situation where Legault is not going to be sending letters. Legault will hold a press conference a la pandemic and say, listen, we have done all we can. And he'll have his flip charts and he'll have his numbers and say, we cannot keep doing this. And the government keeps giving us the bum's rush. And listen, if Justin Trudeau wants to increase Francois Legault's credibility rating, this is a perfect way to do it. Because as I say, in this particular instance, Legault is 110% in the right. All right? But the idea that we're pretending to be so innovative and so welcoming, no, we're not. We're letting people come in, and it's like, okay, come on in. Okay, see you later. That's it. That's as far as it goes. And you're dumping the responsibility for following through on that federal promise to the provinces. And that, to me, is the worst kind of political cynicism you can see these days.
Kind of hard to argue against that. All right, let's talk about, and he's getting talked about far too much. We talked about him last week. Pierre Fitzgibbon, Hydro-Quebec, people are leaving. Is this going to be a fight for Francois Legault over one of his ministers he thought was one he didn't have to worry about?
Well, as I say, this super minister may end up being Francois Legault's kryptonite because Francois Legault has always been able to find someone else to blame if things are going wrong. Mm-hmm. And usually it's an abstract, it's a group of people, it's a situation. Pierre Fitzgibbon is on the map for any number of personal gaffes, ethical gaffes, and the guy tends to, he's very, very frank, he's very candid, he's very forthright, and he's sounding a little too, and this is what gets me about Legault, he's sounding a little too premier-like in many of his pronunciations. He got in trouble, and he ended up having to admit he has never read the Hydro-Quebec Act, which basically says the board of directors names the next CEO, which is in turn approved by cabinet. He basically eliminated the middleman. So not cabinet's going to, do the guy. And now we just heard on the news, heard Greg Kelly saying that, a la Francois Legault, when he was in opposition, they want to be able to interview what everyone is going to know is the government's choice to be CEO of Hydro-Quebec because we need that vision. This is an issue that quite literally sits in the thermostat of every home in Quebec. Every Quebecer has skin in this game, and honestly, you need a team player, someone who's going to have your back. And I'm not entirely sure Pierre Fitzgibbon is fitting that bill at the moment with Francois Legault.
You think? I mean, I love the fact that now the opposition is saying they want a chance to talk to, whoever's going to be, or at least to consider whoever's going to be the next leader. And of course, there's a reaction from the CAQ saying, no. When we found out today that Francois Legault had asked to do exactly the same thing when he was in opposition. So
yeah, exactly.
It's just.
I think
but this is it. Francois Legault's got big plans for Hydro-Quebec. And honestly, Pierre Fitzgibbon is supposed to be his point man, his executor. Pierre Fitzgibbon sounds like he's the guy who feels that he's in charge of all of it. Uh-huh. And that, from what I've seen in the past 5 years, that's a dangerous place to be with Francois Legault.
The only back he's got is his own, I think.
Seems that way. Jim, thank you.
Adam.